So, as I've said, building a startup is something very critical and also important for this generation. I believe, if Brian, you can just confirm that the people we have here are are young people. I can say that young. Is that true?
Yeah, I think we are 30 and below.
Okay, thank you so much. So young people, there's that entrepreneurial bug that often we want it to bite us, but we always also don't go to look for that bug to bite us. But I'd like us to unpack this scenario as well as to build some key things or lessons that we can use in terms of starting our enterprise or ventures. This talk is more geared towards for profit. So you can still use the model that I'm going to present here for non-profit, but more of the same. I've tried to gear it more to for-profit organizations. But within also that, in terms of building a business, there is a whole aspect to it, but there's something fundamental that I believe it's very essential that for us to build a business, we have to really dig deep into it, and that is something called customer discovery. So we have customer discovery, and then we have the execution. If you look from in terms of the history of how business have been built, the first company that was built was in 1608, I think, yes, 1608 in India. It was called Dutch India East something. It used to be like the connector between the Silk Road. If you are familiar with the Silk Road is the same thing that the Chinese are trying to implement now with the Belt Road Initiative, where you see that they're taking over Africa business. I remember if you see in countries like Zimbabwe, they've tried taking over many aspects through loan. Even in Kenya here, they're building inroads, the Belt Road Initiative, they call it. The same thing during the Silk Road, we had the first company in 1608. And then this companies started sprouting along the way. And then there was a challenge in terms of management of this company, which led to the starting of I'm just giving you a brief history of companies, which made, because now when companies became big, it brought challenges in terms of operational management, which led to the formation of now, starting in 1908. Look at 1608 to 1908, that gap is so huge when now people realize that for us to manage companies, we need better leaders, better thinkers, people who can do things differently. And that led to the formation of now the business, the MBA, Master of Business Administration, which was the first was in Harvard Business School, which started in 1908. And then subsequently now we are trying to churn out people to manage businesses or companies. But there was this aspect that was left in terms of managing small companies. Small companies, a startup is not, most people say a startup is not, let me say, it's not a small company. A startup is a company that is trying to find a repeatable and scalable business model for it to be a big company. It's something that is still at initiation, trying to find a business model that works for it and scale it in the future. So that's what I really want to cover today in terms of how to develop customers. So there are four aspects in terms of building a startup. That's why I'm saying that this thing is very huge and long. There are many things I'll brush over, but there are things that I think which are critical that we need to cover that I'll go straight to it. So in terms of a brief introduction. Sorry. I hope you can all still hear me.
Yeah.
You can still hear me. Okay. Sorry. So okay. Now we are set. Okay. No, not yet. Okay, we are set. Okay, thank you. So a little bit about me, as Brian has said, I'm always passionate about young people. I'm passionate about the future of Africa. I always like to think about the future and seeing how we can build our way and grasp the opportunities that in the future. And just trying, especially I'm more interested in the tech space. And within that line also, in terms of building things that geared towards the future that will help us make use of the potential of or the opportunities that will come into the future. It's very good for us to see the future and see a way in terms of building it. It's always called something this, if you find the colloquial term that is being used currently, thinking what starting with the end in mind. So having that vision of what's going to happen in the future and trying to build towards that. So quickly, I've found there are some companies that I've tried founding. We have failures and success. This one was called Mkopoling. Mkopoling, we tried with a friend of mine. It was mostly was a company we are trying to eliminate the third man. The third man in terms of banking, when you go to banks, you try to borrow interest or loan. You borrow a credit from banks or these other circles and loan sharks. So we just wanted to have a way that we don't have to go and fill papers, do the credit analysis, and do everything through the bank, but we give the bank a channel through by we do all that stuff. And their whole main objective is to give people credit. So our job was to bring customers, verify, do the credit scoring by authenticating through the bank systems, and also do all the work of getting customers, and then try and fit them into the business model for the bank. Yeah, so that one. But along the way, we had issues with the. This is something that you realize along the way. Founders also have issues in terms of how the business works, and you have conflict and things don't go well along the way. You have different visions, and if you don't follow the right model, also things always go the wrong way. This is some of the lessons that we learned from that. The another one is was verified services. This is whereby within a certain period you find that most of the businesses we have are not legit. So in terms of legit, we wanted to have a referral system whereby you can just go and check the verified businesses that guys can have, or if you want to validate someone who is trying to offer services to you, especially SMEs, you can go to this site that we tried building also to just verify some of the business. We also, there was this also Natives Unplugged. Natives Unplugged came about as a particular interest. I had an interest in, I'm a technology guy, but along the way, things always change, and also you develop different reasons. So I developed an interest around economics, and especially in economics, something called behavioral economics, whereby you use psychology to influence how buyers or people do things. So in the case, for example, there's this thing that was done in Amsterdam airport. This is a way of behavioral economics. Let me just give you an example. So in Amsterdam airport, they realize that men mostly, if they go to the washroom, they always not use the loo appropriately when they are taking the short call. So in the for them to be let me say nudged in quotes, so that they can use the urinals in appropriate way. Those are a drawing that was made on the urinals, like a small housefly. So most of the time, you find that men now try to point when they're taking the short call, they're trying to point on the housefly. And actually, it was let me say 98% success, meaning that the things that they used to see before, in terms of spillage and all that, and not maintaining the hygiene in terms of the washroom, it was now being controlled through this simple nudge through psychological means. So that's something that really built my interest in terms of psychology. So that's where I went through the Natives Unplugged, where now we realized that also in the future, if you see, there's going to be an explosion in terms of devices people are using. Currently, we have internet connected devices in your homes, like everyone is on the phone. We have these social media things that are keeping us active, or to just be on screen. So there's a time that will come when guys will want to detox, or not, to find a way in terms of use tech in a good way, or a way that doesn't really challenge, or not like being addicted. Let me say being addicted, which is not the right time when you're using tech, but being addicted, whereby we have video games and all that. You find that's currently a challenge. Let me just give some statistics. You find that in a day, averagely, someone in a day opens or unlocks the phone around 150 times unconsciously. You don't know, unconsciously. Yeah. And the things that have been created on the phone are just geared for you to be, that they take your attention. For example, even Facebook, you find that when you're scrolling, it never ends. There's like you're scrolling and it never ends. The same thing with the Twitter, Instagram, it never ends. So those are things that are geared in terms to influence our psychology and to make us think differently and also be hooked to these devices. So that's why we came with the native unplug, whereby we can a way to position ourselves for the future in terms of how can we create technology that is human-centered and it doesn't affect our normal lives, as well as advocate for disconnecting from our devices and having a better use of digital device. And also these days you find that conversation is more derailed, or it's not good between people because we are using more of digital devices. Even if you're dating, mostly you find that it's text and all that, for fewer physical meetups and all that. But anyway, so that's something that we try to do. But just in essence, I also just wanted to just throw a certain something in the loop. A question to all of us in terms of psychology, something in psychology here. What do you think is wrong with this picture? I just want to see from the text. From the text, can you just type, what do you think is wrong with this picture? Yeah, this for us to just have it more interactive. What do you think is wrong with this picture? Yeah, and most of the time you find that we see what we want to see. What do you think? Those who have played cards, I know that some who have not played cards, but for those who have played cards, what do you think is wrong with this picture? Yeah, I want to see from the charts. What do you think is wrong with this picture? Brian. So I don't know.
Yes.
Yes. So I don't know. I'm not able to see the chat section. Maybe you can just read for me what people are saying, so that I can.
Okay. So Carol says 10 diamond is black.
10 diamond is black.
10 diamond is black. I think other people are still typing, so maybe just 30 seconds more.
30 seconds.
Yeah. So 10 diamond is not supposed to be black?
Have we gotten the other answers?
Not yet.
Okay. So if you've not gotten that, so you can just proceed.
Maybe people can also speak.
They don't know what is wrong. Okay. So can we proceed on?
Yeah, we can proceed.
I think, who was that, the first person there?
Carol.
Yeah, Carol, I think she's right. But most of the time that you find when you display this image, everyone has his own view. The other people tell you that, oh, okay, it should be, I don't know, behind 10, I don't know, anything. Is that this just gives us a view that we see what we want to see. She's right. The 10 of diamond, actually, as we know, diamond is red. But here it has been labeled black. But most of the time, when you look at this, you don't see. There's a time even when you give someone a perfect image, you don't know anything, but they'll just find things to just build on it. This is just a scope. I just wanted to touch on something on psychology, how we see things, how we perceive things. Then there was one advent app. I think I don't want to speak about it, but as we spoke last week, we said that for you to be financially independent, you need to have that mindset, the rich mindset, a mindset that explores, a mindset that tries to build and come up with different things, a mindset that will help you gather not intellect but money in the other essence. So as you said, you want to be rich, but rich also is subjective. Many people have different variants in terms of what rich means to them. For you, rich means having money. For someone, rich means that I'm not working, I'm maybe in a beach, I'm traveling around the world just chilling. I don't have any not expenses, but I don't have to worry about going to work. So this having that rich mindset is very important for us to have that financial independence that we are trying to seek. So most of the times, this is something that I always wanted to speak. Most of the times, when that we get jobs and we go into jobs when we graduate from schools, we want to get opportunities outside there, but that's not the statistics that we currently have. If you look, I always like also statistics to just statistics give us a good impression of current events and where things are headed. So in Kenya, if you just look at what current graduates are being, the current population of people graduating from campuses, and now we have tertiary institution colleges. Every year, 700,000 graduates every year. And all these guys want jobs, want to get into different aspects in an organization. Yeah, they want to get interviews, internships, and most of the time you find that only a third of these guys might be employed. And given now where we're in COVID-19, you find that people are being laid off. Yeah, you had the case of Norfolk Hotel, laid like everyone off, Serena, people on unpaid leave. In the airline industries, people are on unpaid leave. You find that this is the same essence. And for you to have the rich life or the financial independence, you have to be very smart. That's why I always say that for you to have that financial independence or rich that you are trying to seek, you have to start something on the side. Most of the people you find who are rich in the world or who are financially independent, most of the time you find that they are entrepreneurs or guys who have started something on the side and have built it to generate their income. And one thing that I also want to point out is that as you generate income, don't leave your job. If you have a job, don't leave your job to go and concentrate on your work full time. Yeah, that's not the advice. Currently, try and see how you can balance them until at the point whereby this side thing that you are doing or side job that you are doing will reach a point whereby you see that the income that you're getting from it maximizes or overdoes or it's beyond what your job is giving you, meaning that you can now independently or you can be committed to this side thing without you having challenges in terms of your expenses on a day-to-day basis. That's why it is very important for founders or people who study business to see that most of the time you find that guys leaving job and doing it. I've seen many of my friends, they leave stable jobs, that they are going to start their business. I found something, an idea, starting, and then down the line you find that they're bankrupt and things get messy and you are stressed. People commit suicide. People are commit suicide along the way. Yeah, and it becomes so hectic. That's why I always try to emphasize until this side thing can sustain you without you worrying, then go to it. Don't leave your jobs until that you reach that benchmark. And as you look at Africa in all contexts, Africa is the home for 6 of the top fastest growing economies, meaning that there's a potential for Africa's future in terms of business growth and all that. And at this time, it is something that we can try and find ourselves or find a niche with where we can play within these emerging economies. We are called the emerging markets. So most of them are in Africa. The 10, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Ivory Coast, Tanzania, Senegal, and Ghana. This is according to World Bank. This is statistic that was for last year. I don't know what this year is, but these are the 6 of the top fastest growing economies in the world, and they're all in Africa. Meaning that there's a niche, there's a point where we can play in this all niche or this growth that is happening in Africa. And there's a sad thing that is happening. As we are churning out very many graduates who are still, everyone has that mentality to get a job. There's no one who's thinking of doing something different from getting a job. If you're from engineering, you want to get into something that will help you build your career. Yeah, but that was the 1980s and the 1970s and the industrial time, whereby most of the time the main reason why people went to school was for them to be built in a way that to be conditioned to work or to obey systems, to follow systems, and to obey systems and be in a cog, during that industrial revolution where guys used to go to manufacturing and they go and we need people in engineering, design. So that's why schools were founded. That's the genesis of schools. For people to be created in a way that, or to be conditioned to work in an office. And that's something also I always have a problem with the model of education that we have, which is a different topic in all sense. But you find that most of the times when guys leave universities or campuses, their mindset is to get a job. But that doesn't work in these days. These days you find that it's very hard for you to get an opportunity. You might send even 30 CVs, yeah, and you don't get any or even one response, yeah, which I don't know whether Juma, you can include it for how to search, for guys to search a job. These days, we need to shift from the old school mindset of submitting CVs and all that. We need to have a mindset of how can we tailor our skills in terms of what the employer needs and how to position ourselves competitively. These days, it's networking and also through these channels. Previously, people used to go with physical files to submit to employers. This is my CV and all that. Yeah, we need that. I don't know whether that has been trained before in Bootstrap, but it's something that you can consider how to, especially now we see the 700 people who are graduating every year. Getting to the job market is a big problem. And from statistics, there's an analysis that's been done that by 2030, Africa will have the largest workforce by 2030. That's bigger than China. China at this point, the population I think is around, is it 1. If not 1.5 billion, then it is 2.5. I'm not sure. I might have an error margin of 1 billion. That's very huge. But they are almost, I think India is the 1.3 billion. But the rest, there's a margin that I'm not able to factor that, but around, let me say, 1 billion and above. So if Africa's population by 2050 will be bigger than China, and China is projected to be maybe 3 billion people by 2050, meaning that Africa will have the largest workforce in the world, the largest workforce. And now if you now go back to see what China is trying to do with the Belt and Road Initiative, trying to get into Africa through many channels. These are some of their strategies, yeah? Meaning that 1 billion people in Africa will need jobs. 1 billion people will need jobs. This is a ticking time bomb. And currently, where we are in 2020, that's like 30 years before 2050, yeah? But 700,000 people are living every year, and only a third of them are getting opportunities. Meaning that this will be a big problem in 2050, meaning that we are sitting on a time bomb. And when now there are no jobs and opportunities, it means that it will now bring other social things. We'll have maybe crime levels will rise, things will now start doing things in a different way that is against the norm that's expected. So as Karen said, what I'm just trying to underline is that we are living in a very important period whereby only those who will be able to start something on the side will be able to sustain even the future. Yeah, the future of Africa will depend on certain level of leadership. People who are even here, who are listening to this session, who are in this session, whereby we need to come up with creative ways to even employ others. Yeah, we are sitting on a ticking time bomb. If in 2050 we have 1 billion workforce, and 1 billion workforce, people need opportunities. People need opportunities to maybe jobs and all that. And that's the mindset that we have. And I think that's something that I don't know how we'll do it, but it's something that we need to shift people's mindset from looking for job to being employers. Yeah. And thank you for organizing this session. That's why it's very essential. And this is something days that I just have. There's a website that always tracks these days. As of today morning, when I was checking, we have 5,322 days to go. 5,322 days to go until we reach that time bomb. Yeah, will you be the change? That's my question. Yeah, as I had mentioned, in terms of storage economics, whereby the industrial complex, how things were being built for us to be churned into, going to school to learn so that we could join offices. Yeah, if you look at our parents, yeah, they could go and you find your parent to go to school, maybe up to campus and finish, and then they'll get a job immediately, and then they'll stay in one job until retirement. The chances of them moving from one job will be very low. Yeah, but that thing has shifted, given in terms of now the revolution that we have, the fourth industrial revolution. We are now in the fourth one. Yeah, and now we need to change also our approach, which is something that people in government and leadership need to think realistically. Yeah, whereby also in terms of being farmers and hunters. This is an analogy I always try to use, mostly in the hunters aspect. Like in the Stone Age, you find that most people, when they are farmers, they used to go to the field. You wake up in the morning, go weed and plant and all that. Like it was a routine thing. Yeah, it was a routine thing that was assured. It's the same thing that was during the early industrial complex. But we need now to shift back to the original, being hunters. Yeah, having that ideation or having that mind that thinks flexibly. Yeah, things are like looking for meal every day. Like you have that third vision. Let me say third vision in terms of perceiving things. Yeah, you might see things as what everyone is saying, but you are thinking different thoughts. Yeah, you are thinking in terms of opportunities that might apply this one. Having that hunter aspect. Yeah, and these are the things I'll try to make to talk about in the other slides. But going to what you want, that was just a brief background. What we want to study today is about startups. Why do startups fail? Some of the researches that we've done, you find that most of the number one thing that there are many things. As I said, we had issues with founders, where founders have wrangles. Other issues where you find that you don't have money to support the startup capital. You don't have the right skills. Yeah, but some of the things that here, like I've said, timing, when you're launching your idea, and your idea is maybe too far for the future and people still cannot perceive it, or you don't have the right team, your idea might be, let me say, not to say useless, but it might not be of that benefit to people. And also your business model does not make, does not give that view in terms of how we are going to generate income, or you have a flawed business model. But the number one reason that many companies or startup fail is lack of customers. That's why I was thinking that for this session, as we are saying, Startup 101, the main thing that we need to figure out is what is it in terms of developing customers, or how do we get customers for us to run our business. Like customer development, it should be the core thing. And most of the times you find that 90%, as you were saying, 90% of business fail within the first 3 years. If your business succeeds between for more than 3 years, then yeah, there's something good you're doing. But most of the new business that people form fail within the first 3 years. Everyone always has a plan until you get punched in the face. At the beginning, you are psyched up. Yeah, I'm building a business. I'm going to be a millionaire and all that. Until you get punched on the face. And the number one reason why most startup fails is lack of customers. And that's what we are going to discuss today in terms of customers. I don't know how many people have seen this thing, the business model canvas, the new model. How many people have seen this, the business model canvas? I want to, in the chat, maybe you can just, I want to see yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Brian, you never seen this?
I've seen it. I've seen the new one.
which is the new one? This one. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I can't see guys commenting, but anyway, I hope we're all together. If you're together, say yes in the chat.
So, but Paul, are you able to see the chat box?
I'm not sure. I don't.
Huh?
I'm trying to. Yes, I can see it. Okay.
Okay. I think
okay.
Yeah. Personally, I'm quite familiar with the previous one, but I also looked at this one, but I don't have an understanding of it.
Okay. Okay. I think this is okay. Many people I'm seeing yes. So it means that most of us are familiar with the business model canvas. Previously, how people used to build companies, you find that most people they write a business plan. Yes, this is what I have for the future. This is the plan and all these things, operational model. You write like I don't know, 30 pages of business plan, and then you go and execute. That is the wrong model that people still perceive or use to build companies. And you find that when you go to the customer, to the customer to to try to execute your business model, you find actually it doesn't work. Then you go back to the drawing board, and all these things makes you not be, let me say, it wastes time, or not even waste time, but it beats the purpose why you're trying to build a business. So there's something called the business model canvas, which is a more iterative way for you to build or to organize your thinking and see and project things in terms of how you're going to build your business. And I think this is a whole investment in terms of, if you want to learn more about it, it's a whole study on it, it's a whole workshop on its own, but this is the underlying model. This is the first point where you start when you're starting to build a business. You have to have a business model canvas, whereby the business model canvas gives you that view in terms of value proposition. If I start with the value proposition means that what need are you going to fix, or what pain or are you going to fix? Most of the time, today I say, what's my value proposition? Let me say, for example, which is a good example, Jumia food. Let me say Jumia food. Yeah, maybe you can say that the delivery of food, yeah, is the value proposition. No, the value proposition is actually the need or the pain or the gain that you're trying to fix. Yeah, like for example, when I say Jumia food, it's not the delivery thing, but the pain that maybe the pain or the discomfort that I get when I want to go to the restaurant. Maybe I'm in the house and I don't want to go to the restaurant. That's a pain. Yeah, I need someone who can be able to bring me food. Yeah, that's the contextual mind that we need to have. It's not the product or the service that you're. That the different customers that you have that are going to be subscribing to this value that you have. Maybe you have them in terms of which age, geographical position, which gender, like that. How having that segment, and then the revenue stream. Are we going to offer something freemium or free for everyone so that we can get value later? And then you have key resources, things that will be using for your business. So things that maybe, do we need a team? Which skills? Do we need an office? Some of the questions that you need to ask yourself at the onset. Key activities, the day-to-day operation of the business. What are the things that we'll be doing on a daily basis? This is where you have the key activity. Key partners. Who are the guys we need to associate with for us to deliver this value that we're trying to project to our customers? Who are these guys we're going to partner with? Do we have suppliers? Do we have not subscriber, people who feed us some information, manufacturers that we then feed to our customers? And the cost structures, what are those costs that you will be taking care of or being involved in terms of managing or operating your business? This is the first step. When you start an idea or an idea of a business, you first come to the business model and you put that hypothesis or that theory. Yeah, maybe that business, you have an idea and you want to see all the models. It like organizes your thinking. It gives you a view of all your business and the different model, the operating channels, the customers, the relationship, the revenue stream, the cost that you'll be incurring. It gives you that view from a whole vantage point. And this, as I've said, is the first point where you put that theory or that value that you're trying to reach to the customers. Yeah. Okay, so this is something that we built for Natives Unplugged hypothesis, where our value was to promote and empower more human-to-human interaction, enable meaningful and healthy balanced digital. So as you start building your business model canvas, it is something that is iterative. It changes as you progress. And that's something we're going to talk in the next slide. But this was just a model to just give us a view of what it entails when you say a business. How do you build it, or the things that go into different sections. We have the customer segments, we have millennials, teenagers. This is something that we are thinking at the onset. And most of the time you find that the theory that you have is not the exact. So this was the first thing that we built, the theory that you have that you want to build for the future of the business that you're trying to build. So like here we had key activities, key partners, the other things. This is just an example for us to see. Digital and all that. Key resources, where we have money, talent, channels, speaking session, handbooks, work, retreat, outdoor adventures, something like this. So this is just an example, cost structure, venue, marketing, revenue stream, event fee, merchandise, and all that. So this was just something, a draft that we're trying to build at the beginning of Kubernetes Unplugged. So this is now the most important thing that I wanted to discuss today. As we had gone previously, we had said that the lack of customer is one of the main reasons why business fail. And for us to move forward, we need to have a way to build customers for our business. So for you to build a company, there are 4 things that I always try to emphasize. There's customer discovery. There's something called customer validation, customer creation, and company building. Those are 4 things. They are whole wide aspects. And if time will allow in future, we can have a workshop to just dive deep into all these things. It is very interesting, interactive, and you'll get, I think it will be more easier. I wish it will be more practical for us, because now we'll be having ideas and we'll be trying to fit them into these 4 segments and see what at the end of the workshop we will get out of it. I wish we would have a physical. But for this particular session, I want to focus on something called the search. The execution is much more easier. The execution is how you're building your company. But the fundamental point where we find that most people go wrong is the search or the customer development process. The search for the customer or building your company, trying to see that this need that I'm trying to give people is actually what people need. Yeah, and under the search, the search of the customer, you search the customer and build and have that customer, then you execute the idea that you have through the customer. But the first thing is the search, and the search is very important, and it has 2 aspects. The customer discovery. Customer discovery is where now you want to test your hypothesis. We've gone through the business model canvas. So when you are building the business model canvas at the beginning, you're bringing at the value proposition, you had a theory that, yes, this is what I need. I'm going to fix this for users, or this is what I'm going to sell. Yeah, these people have this pain I'm trying to fix. But the moment that you go to and try to give the customer those things at the end of it all, you find that actually what you're trying to sell the customer is something that the customer doesn't want. Being that you're not addressing the need, you had a theory in your mind. That's why I'm saying that the old age, how we used to do things, writing business plans and going to execute, which used not to work. The same thing now. For you to build a business, you have to understand the customer. What are their needs? And then see how you can fix that. You might be coming with an hypothesis. Yes, there's a business you want to build. Like, I want to start a hamburger shop. Yeah, but I have to be strategic. The place where I'm going to put my hamburger shop, do actually people need hamburger there? Is there a pain that these guys are facing? Yeah, that's where we fail. Where you go and find that people are putting your stall or hamburger shop in a road where even guys, where it's far from, let me say residential areas, there's no one who's buying, and you wonder why people are not buying. Because you are not fixing any pain or need that people want during that time. Yeah, maybe like there's this thing in Korea, that in South Korea, which is a very advanced technological country, they're the most innovative country in the world for the past 10 years, except this year. This year they became number 2. But there's something that they developed. Let me say for an example how they fix some pain or a need for customers. So there's this company that developed they realize that when you go from work in the evening, you want to go to your house, you find that there's no time for you to go maybe to shop and all that, and also you want to make time to go home in a timely manner. Maybe there's a window that you need to cover before. Maybe I want to reach at home by 7, and I'm leaving at the work at 5. Meaning that if I'm not, there's a train leaving at maybe, let me say, mostly the train. When the train is leaving at maybe say 5:30, and by 5:30, if I'm not there by 5:30, they're very exact. It will leave me. So these guys develop something, a virtual shopping environment, whereby at the subway station there's a screen where you go and you just choose things. Like it's a supermarket on a screen. So you come in on the screen and you choose the things, like you're doing a shopping while you're waiting for your train. And then when you finish your shopping, you validate using your phone, and then you enter the train. When you reach your house, you find that the things that you had clicked at the subway had already been delivered immediately. Yeah, it beats the process for you going back to the supermarket to do shopping, go to Mama Mboga to find food and all this. Yeah, it was sort of fixing a need or a gap that our users had. Yeah, in the same way when you're trying to get in the search for the customer, trying to see if what hypothesis or the theory that you're trying to say that this company that I'm trying to found or to start, or the startup I'm trying to start, this is what is going to fix. And that's where we call the search. Yeah, and validation now. At validation is where you try to sell what you think the customer needs. But let's go to the customer discovery. So the customer discovery aspect, in a nutshell, means that you have an hypothesis or a theory that this is what guys want. So in the business model canvas, you have all those things that you've placed. These are the things that I think people want and the theory. But for you to move to the next phase, after getting that, filling the hypothesis and building your business model canvas, you get out and go and speak to your customers. Yeah, you go and say that okay, there's this thing I'm trying to build. Do you think it's something that you want? Yeah, is this thing is it going to help you in any way? Is it fixing a need? Is it you're trying to validate your theory? You're trying to confirm that indeed what I'm trying to solve for this customer is what actually they want. So that is where we have going out and speaking to real customers that you're expecting to sell. And that by speaking to those real customers, you find that you'll come back to your business model canvas. You find, no, I was trying to solve the issue around buying of food. It seems that guys don't even like buying food. Yeah, they prefer someone to just deliver for them. They don't need. They don't want to buy. Not buying food, but they need also certain aspects of food, or even there's something more that they need that are not captured in my hypothesis or the theory I was trying to build. Yeah, and then you go after speaking to customers, you understand their need, and try to bring that things into two. Then the third point now, for example, now you've reached out to customers, you've given them, you've had what you've tried to sell them, or not sell them, but give them an idea that I'm trying to fix this need. Is it something that you really want? And if it's something that you really want, is there any way that I can improve it or do something different? You come up with a phase 3, whereby now you build and tell them, last week we talked with you that this was the theory that I had, and I tried to validate it through you in terms of, is it fixing something or a need that you really have? And then the third aspect now, you've come up with something that the feedback that you've received from the client or the customers, and you come now with something that is tangible and give them. You say that yes, no, guys really don't know. Then it takes you back to the drawing board. Before even you spend a lot of money in building a company, investing money in channels or sales and all that, at this point you're already trying to validate that what you are actually trying to sell is what the customer really needs. And the things that you need to do after the hypothesis, go and talk to the customer, find out that this is something that I'm trying to solve. Is it something that will benefit you? If yes or no. If yes, you proceed, build something that fits within that understanding, and try to give them and see if also to validate, is it something that works for them? And if no, you come back to the drawing board. You say, okay, this is not what this is what I thought people wanted, and actually this is what people want. And then now you try to reiterate, you go back, and something, and this is what we call, when you get the yes, is what we call a product market fit, whereby what you're trying to sell matches what the customer needs, or something that you're trying to build is what actually the customers want. Yeah, that goes to something that is called a product market fit. This is where, if you go back, you find that this synergy, whereby your discovery and validation match, is what we call a product market fit, where your product matches what the customers need. And if it doesn't match, you come back to the beginning to start again from the beginning. Maybe because of the things that you realize that this is not what the customer wants, you come back and test it again to just validate if this is what they want. Yes. So this is it. In summary, what I'm trying to say is that for you to have a business that is viable, try and understand what guys want. Don't give them things that you think they want. Most of the time, you are always wrong. And that's something that we also learned from our Natives Unplugged business. You find that most of the time, we were actually wrong. We thought we were trying to fix this, but actually people wanted something more, something different. Yeah. State your hypothesis, which is from the business model canvas. You go to the customer, test the problem, and find out, is this thing actually fixing the gap that you are perceiving, or there's something that you need to do differently? Test the solution, build something that you've, from the feedback you've gotten, and give them and see. If it is something that agrees with the product market fit, you proceed. If not, you start afresh, you pivot. Pivoting is where you start again. You go back the same way. Even in our life, if you still keep, there's this quote that says that if you keep getting the same results over and over, yeah, it's only a madman who continues doing the same thing. Yeah, you pivot, you start afresh. You see that, yes, I've been going to like 30 interviews, and I've gotten a 0 success. Does it mean that there's something that I'm doing that is not right? Yeah, you pivot, you go back to the beginning and try and see your approach, and try to fix, change your approach, and see how it validates with what the objective is. The problem, most of the times, in the value proposition, you find that you are fixing a problem, a need, or a pain, or there's a gain that you're going to give to a customer. I don't want to dwell in that. But finally, in terms of validation now, this means that under the customer discovery, you've successfully understood that this is what you are trying to do is what the customer actually needs. Then now the second phase comes to getting ready to sell. At this point, you're still trying to build the business. It's not something that is full scale or large scale, full scale, or you've not yet scaled it. You are trying to test your theory that indeed this is what people really want. So phase 2, which is the customer validation, is where you get ready to sell. So after you build something that something, let me say, a minimum viable product, or maybe a website, and try to find if you get few customers to just join, yeah, and you give them, you go out and meet the customers and try to sell to them. You say that, how much are you willing to pay for this thing? This also will help you in terms of your pricing and having the different segments for different levels, whereby you have maybe university students are paying $1, maybe guys in the corporate things are paying a different amount. So getting ready to sell, whereby you are trying to see if what you are trying to build, yes, the customer wants it, but are they willing to buy it? Yeah, are they willing to buy the thing that you're trying to sell to them? So you get that high fidelity app or website or item that you're trying to build, or and then you go and try and sell them. Yes, if this is what I'm trying to sell to you, how much are you willing to buy from me. If you're willing to buy from me, yes, how much are you willing to spend on it? And then at that point also you get feedback. Yes, I tried selling it to you in this way. How would I have talked or said, or what thing would I have said would have made you buy it? Or like you get feedback from the customer. It gives you insight even before you sell. It's a way for you to reach out to your customers, find what they need, and it gives you that positioning in terms of the future when you are scaling. At this point, it also minimizes the cost that will be expensing in terms of selling things, building, maybe hiring people and all that. If already you don't know that even this thing that you're trying to build is sellable, guys can buy. Yeah. And then from that discussion, you develop your positioning. By positioning, I mean that, yes, I've tried and sold it to someone, and the feedback I've gotten that, okay, maybe I said this and these features. Maybe if I'd said it in a different way, the customer or this person would have actually agreed to buy this thing easily. Yeah. And if that doesn't work, if you go out and try and sell and people don't buy, you come back to the drawing board. Whereby that's why we are saying you pivot. You come back to the customer discovery phase and try to build the hypothesis again. You test it again. Yeah. So it's a whole cycle. That's why I'm saying that for us, this scenario would have been even much interesting if it was a full workshop physical, where we could do this thing physically and try to build. So until you find that repeatable or scalable business model, that's when now you go to the second phase where you go to creating your customers and building a company. But at this point, the important thing I'm trying to emphasize is on searching or the search of a customer or the customer development, whereby you want to sell something that actually people want. So an example, this was a demo to the customer. This is what we thought the customer wanted, a minimum viable product, a donut that the customer wanted. So we went out and our theory from our business model canvas, we thought that the guys want a donut that has some sugar on top of it. But then we went out and spoke to the customers. After speaking to the customers, we found out that this is what the customers actually feedback that they gave us. That yes, I need a donut that has no sugar on top, which is shiny. Yeah, it has a good mixture of oil, and the hole should be smaller. Yeah, the hole should be reduced to a certain level. Yeah. So this was we came back to our drawing board, then built something that actually the customer, and then we went out to sell them the second time. And then at the end, you realize that indeed what the customer actually wanted was something different from what you initially thought. Initially, we thought that this is what they wanted, but at the end of it all, you realize that actually what the customer wanted was this donut, which had some chocolate sprinkled on it, some pickles on it as well. Yeah, and the whole was to certain degrees. So we will only know this if you go and speak to the customers or the people you are trying to sell the thing or the idea to, and the need or the gap that you're trying to fix. You will only understand this by going to them. And in conclusion, as I want to just conclude, this whole story about startup is so huge, but I thought that in 1 hour that we had, we could just cover this customer search. But in future, I'm hoping when all these things, we can do an actual workshop whereby everyone comes with their own ideas in terms of the business, and we try and build them from scratch and execute and go and talk to our customers and do that. I don't know, it can be even an online course, but it's something that you can think about. But in my closing remarks, as I like my two best quotes, I shared last week as well. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. At this moment, we've seen that there's a population growth that is expected in 2050. Africa will have the largest population. And if we continue the mindset of going to get jobs and fitting into organization, that will be a problem for us in the future. The same thing like last week when we were discussing, we were saying that in the event that now you lose your job, how will you sustain yourself? All the time you find that people are living from paycheck to paycheck. But if you have something that is sustaining you on the side, it is very beneficial for you, even to when you're aspiring to be financially independent and explore things that you also have a desire to. Maybe I know most of the young people want to travel around the world. Yeah, it will give you that chance to, maybe you're working from in Nevada, or you're working in South Korea, but yes, you are doing something that is meaningful. You're traveling the world, but you can still work and do your own business from anywhere in the world. But by creating systems and creating a viable thing. A year from now, and the other thing, if you have an idea, don't let an idea just die with you. Yeah, this Les Brown, he's called Les Brown. Les Brown. He's always Les Brown. I don't know. Maybe that's his name. But what he says that the cemetery is the richest part in the world, or the richest place in the world is the cemetery, whereby you find that people are buried with ideas, valuable ideas that would have changed the world. Yeah, the cemetery is the most richest part. So if you have that idea, try and test it outside with people. We've gone through customer development. Just try and put that hypothesis on a business model canvas and try and test it with some people, the people you're trying to target, and see, is this something that is viable, that people can actually accept? Hunting antelope and field mice. This is something that there's this story whereby in Masai Mara grassland, you find that every day in Masai Mara, a lion wakes up in the morning, but also an antelope wakes up at the same time. But the antelope just knows that it has to be the fastest moving in the grassland. It has to, that day it has to move as faster than the slowest antelope. But the lion also knows that it has to move very fast than the slowest antelope. When the sun rises, everyone has to keep running. But the lion also has an option. The lion can hunt field mice. Field mice are these, let me say, rats. Yeah, they are rats that are running within the grassland. A lion can feed on them. It's very easy to hunt for field mice. They are very slow. You can get them anywhere, and it's very easy for a lion. But a lion also can choose to hunt antelopes. A lion can choose to hunt field mice, which are very slow and easy to catch and eat. Yeah, but at the end of it all, you find that the calorie content of the field mice does not fit the lion. At the end of it all, with time, as time progresses, as the lion continues feeding on these field mice, you find that the lion will die because the calorie content of the field mice does not sustain the lion going forward. But the lion can also have an option of choosing an antelope. At the moment, getting an antelope is hard, but as the lion hunts an antelope and gets an antelope, the calorie content for an antelope that when a lion kills and gets and eats, he can sustain it for more than 3 days or 4 days, and the lion will just be okay. Yeah. So my question to you: what do you want to hunt? Are you going to be hunting field mice or antelopes? Depending on your calorie content, think about it. If you want to make long-term impact, build roads. But this is an analogy that I always like. It says it's a question I try to pose to people, especially when people are starting organization or businesses. The fundamental question I always ask is that: are you building roads or buildings? If you go back, let me say, I think most of us are within cities. When you're in a city, if you look at the pictures of a city, maybe in 1960, you'll find that, yeah, they are black and white, but you find that there are certain buildings that have been stationed at different places. But if you come back to the current state, you find that those buildings are not there. Yeah. But if you look also in the past, in that 1960, you still see that there were roads that were there that were still crisscrossing different aspects. And most of the time, those roads, if you look currently, those roads are still there. Yeah. When creating an organization or a technology or any kind of culture, the roads always, the roads are worth far more than building. You find that the roads still are there, but the buildings, if the tenant decide to maybe to rent it out or sell it, someone demolishes it and they build something better on the same landscape. But the road and the navigation or the intertwining aspect that it has given that area continues being there. The road never ends. So my question to you: when you're building a company, are you building roads or buildings? Because system builds around communication, transportation, and connection need an approval of change. Yeah, because people are used to it. So if you a road, the chances of a road being changed is very low. Yeah. Buildings, on the other hand, as soon as the owner or tenant decides to sell it or he doesn't need it, he'll do anything with it. Yeah. The roads, you find that they haven't changed; they're always still there. Question to you: are you building roads or are you building buildings? Are you hunting antelopes or field mice? And I'd like to end that presentation from there.